1, 3, 2.
It's good, like Chinese rice.
Oh, you look fantastic.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming this morning. Today we're going to have Crypto Viking, as how he goes. But we're going to have him talk today about the top 5 crypto misconceptions. So for those that are online watching, this should be pretty good. We also have a special guest coming today. We have Michael Carter, who goes by Bitsby Trippin. For those that don't know him, I call him the Michael Jordan of the mining world. So he's part of Crypto World. He's an equity stakeholder in Crypto World, but he's got close to 100,000 followers on YouTube. And just somebody that's going to help Crypto World as we grow and we set up more hosting and mining facilities. He's going to be very vital. Right now, he's in the middle of creating or building out a 5 megawatt system in Troy, Illinois. If you guys don't know what that is, that's 5 40-foot containers with 360 miners, ASIC miners in each container. And the ASIC miners are those things in the box right there. So that way, I don't know if you guys can see that bitmate box. So that's one miner right there. But he's currently doing that, and we're working with him to help source all the mining equipment. So that's going to be a big boost for Crypto World, because that's 360 times 5 is what, 1,800 of those miners that we're going to be sourcing for him. But he's coming in probably the next 20 minutes, 20-30 minutes. I guess he has some special guests that are flying in. Did you say Panama? Panama City or something.
Panama City, Panama.
Panama City, Panama, that want to see Crypto World. For those that are new, this is the first one in the world. So it's something that's very special to us, because it's something we built August of last year. It's been a little over 7 months, and it's been a lot of trial and error along the way, because it's the first one. And our focus has always been to help educate the community. I know we have some new people that are very new into the industry, so thank you for coming. But we want to be able to help people like yourself get them educated, just at least getting them to know the foundation of crypto, the why aspect, and why it's growing 116% year over year for the last 10 years, which is double the speed of the internet as far as the growth for the first 10 years. So it's very exciting times. You guys probably heard the news that Twitter was bought yesterday.
Woo!
So a lot of people are really happy about that, because especially in the crypto space, because they're doing a lot, or the plan is to do a lot of things, not only on the free speech side, but also in the crypto space, because Elon is big into Bitcoin and also big into Dogecoin. Probably saw the Dogecoin jump like 30% yesterday. I only own a small amount. I know some people like Jonas bought some at the peak, so he's just looking to get it to like 45 cents.
Still in the hole. I bought it like less than a penny, and then again at 5 cents, and then most of it at 40 cents. So I just thought, it's going to go to $1, right? So
the one cool thing too about the Twitter I've been reading about is there's a lot of bots that are on Twitter that is basically set up to steal people's crypto passwords and keys and things like that. So there's a lot of scams that go on Twitter because of the bots, and that's one thing they're going to fix, is eliminate all the bots, and also, like I said, help with being able to help with adoption of crypto. So that was pretty exciting. Last week we had Vicky Hartzler. She's a congresswoman for the state of Missouri. So she came to Crypto World. She had only a few places that she was going to visit. She picked Crypto World as a place to visit. So that was pretty cool that she is favored to win the Senate seat. So she was running against Greitens and also Eric Schmidt. So she is not that familiar with crypto. But I respect the fact that she came here to want to learn, right? Because she's seeing some some things crossed her desk in Congress about crypto legislation. So it's cool that she came in here and kind of talked about, what she's doing, and also to learn a little bit more about this industry, because more and more politicians are getting involved. We have Cynthia Loomis in Wyoming. We have Cruz. You have Tumis, I think, is another senator that's been very involved. And
Taylor Burks.
Say again?
Taylor Burks.
Yeah, Taylor Burks has been here. He's favored to win actually Vicky's seat. So he's going for Vicky's congressional seat. And if you go on our YouTube, you'll see interviews. The guy is just phenomenal. He knows this space better than most people that I've talked to. So it's cool. He outraised his opponent almost 3-1. He's one of the few that take crypto for his campaign for donations. But he's favored to win the seat. So he's been here a few times. He's interviewed with us we have a little YouTube group back there that we interview folks. But if he wins the seat, then we're going to have more people that we can go to in Congress. And, so that's pretty cool for us, being we're the first one and we're planning on and expanding this operation. One of the things that we're working on is setting up a mining hosting operation here. So we're working with a local utility company here in Missouri. And the goal is to simplify mining for everybody that wants to mine, right? So if we can somebody wants to buy a Bitcoin miner here and they don't want to do it in their home because of the heat or the noise, or they don't know how to maintain it. Our goal is to have facilities set up to where you buy the machine, give it to us, and we'll put it in one of our facilities. And most of the time, it's probably going to be cheaper electric rate than what you're paying at home. So it's a win-win for you as a customer. So we're setting that up currently. I am visiting a couple facilities. I'll be going to Kentucky tomorrow to visit a facility that has room for about 140 miners. And so we're hoping to sign an agreement. So starting next week, we can send some miners out there for our customers that have been waiting. But outside of that, so one big news too is as most of you guys know, we started a We Funder campaign. And the We Funder campaign is similar to Kickstarter or GoFundMe, but it's an equity-based raise. And with our We Funder, it's basically we're utilizing the funds to be able to expand our operation, build more location, and to also set up our staking nodes. So our initial goal was to get it up to 50K. And the reason our goal was to set it up to 50K is because We Funder has about 1.1 million investors that have invested in projects. So once it hits 50K, We Funder itself will send it out to all 1.1 million investors. So yesterday we had a commitment to get us to 50K. So that's so we should be at 50K today, sometime today. And so our hope then from that 50K, we're calculating numbers that, even if half of 1% of the people that have already invested in projects invest with Crypto World, then we would raise roughly about $1.1 million if the average investment is $200. So that's something I know some of you guys have already invested in Crypto World. Thank you so much for doing that. So we're hoping that in a few years we go IPO and we're able to open up 500 plus locations. We've already talked to some folks here about Puerto Rico and some other places. So it's exciting, and we have a list of over 30 people that signed letters of intent that want to open up that Crypto World in their city or state once we open that up. So I'm going to have Jonas go over kind of top 5 crypto myths. If you do have more questions, you can email me or text, or probably email me, and about the We Funder and also what we're doing here. Jeff at firstcryptoworld.com. You can also go on our website, shopcryptoworld.com, to get a hold of one of us. But Jonas, if you want to come up and talk about the myths.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. So yeah, if you guys were here, I guess it was last month, I filled in for when we didn't have a big name guest speaker. I did the top 5, I think, crypto myths. And this is kind of along the same lines, but it's the top 5 misconceptions. So Jeff and I have been going around to high schools, and we've been teaching kind of a Bitcoin crypto basics class to high school students. Along with that and all of the consultations that I've been doing, I've gotten a pretty good sense of some of the biggest misconceptions or kind of wrong ways of thinking about cryptocurrency in the space in general. So I wanted to go over those, not because I think that any of you necessarily need to hear them, but because it might help you guys to explain cryptocurrency and the blockchain ecosystem to friends and family members. So to start things off, Bitcoin has crashed, right? That's one of the biggest misconceptions that we see right now. To a newcomer, when you look at the price chart right now, Bitcoin having gotten up to almost 70K and now coming down to about 40K and even dipping a little bit below that, it looks like the entire system is just blown up, right? It's like things are just crashing, never going to recover. It's easy to think that, but it's definitely not the case. As we all know, Bitcoin volatility, it goes up, it comes down. For people who aren't used to that, it's easy to understand why they would think that it's crazy. But Bitcoin's price, here's a simple market volatility, supply and demand. And you can also not immune to manipulation by big whales. So you see a big sell-off or news that someone's going to be buying 10,000, 100,000 Bitcoin, the price will just shoot back up. It's just part and parcel of being in this space. Number 2, Bitcoin is too expensive right now to buy, to invest. One of my most recent consultations, I was working with a gentleman who wanted to get into crypto for the first time, and he was ignoring Bitcoin and Ethereum because all those are too expensive, right? He was actually looking at some of the more almost penny stocks, so like 5 cent, 10 cent coins that he was really excited about. And he had a few things that he was doing that wasn't quite right, the way that he was thinking about crypto, the way that he was thinking about investing. First and foremost, whenever you buy crypto, you don't have to buy a whole coin, right? That's something that's pretty new to people. It's a little bit different from, say, the stock market, where you're buying shares. And that's actually what he kept saying, is I want to buy some shares of Bitcoin. I want to buy some shares of, or I don't want to buy shares of Bitcoin. I want to buy some shares of XRP because it's less than $1. You know, that's going to blow up a bit. And I almost wish that I would have kept everything on the whiteboard here, because I spent like an hour and a half with him just whiteboarding it out, showing him that just because a coin right now is only a nickel, it doesn't mean that it's going to get up to $40,000 or $100,000 like Bitcoin did, right? A 5 cent coin right now might cap out at 20 cents. And you're doubling your money. You know, that's great, fantastic, better than the stock market, right? But Bitcoin, we expect it here in the crypto world, and a lot of other people do as well, to eventually, in many years, reach $1 million per coin. That's more than 20x from where it is right now. So instead of a 5 cent coin doubling to 10 cents, your Bitcoin over the next many years is going to go from 40,000 to 1 million, right? So it's if you're in it to make money, you don't need to look at the price of the coin right now. You're looking at the project, what they're trying to achieve, and how successful you think they might be. Yeah, so Bitcoin being the most expensive crypto right now, right? It's also the first. And I think there's some rule here what's called, but when you're the first to market, you're going to keep the vast majority of the market share just because you're first. So this is a big one, and I'm actually really happy. I was on the phone with Michael Carter this morning. He called me to tell me that he was coming in, and I was telling him, like, yeah, I'm about to give this presentation. I've got some of these topics. What do you think about this and this and this? And he was just on the phone with me for about half an hour this morning, just ranting. And he is such a wellspring of knowledge. I was sitting there on my computer with my phone, just trying to get all the information down on the slide. This is a topic that he addressed a few months ago, I think, but it's one that we get a lot here in crypto world, and that is I should just buy a crypto instead of mining it. Why would I buy this piece of equipment that I don't understand how it works? Why can't I just take that same amount of money and just buy the cryptocurrency. And you totally can. That's totally fine. If you think you're timing the market really well, if you're about to buy a dip and it's going to go up like crazy, fantastic. Go ahead and do that. But buying, number one, is going to lock you in at that price. Right? As soon as you put in that purchase order, you bought that coin at that price. If it goes up or down from there, so be it. But with mining, you're actually going to be averaging out your price point. It's a lot like dollar cost averaging. You guys are familiar with that. Where you put in a set amount per week. So we used to do, for example, like Coinbase. You could say, I'm going to buy $50 worth of Bitcoin, same time every week. I don't care what the price is, because over time, I know it's going to average out, and I'm going to have a really good return. You're essentially doing the same thing with mining. Buying a piece of equipment, and it is earning you X dollars worth of whatever crypto you're mining every single day or week or month. The other great thing about mining is that you actually get your ROI on the machine. So you spend the money, you get the machine, and then yes, that machine will likely take, depending on what the price of cryptocurrency is, 8 to 14 months, somewhere in that ballpark, to achieve an ROI, your return on your initial investment. But after that, it's like you're just printing money. You've got your return, and now that machine is still making the same amount every single day. The worth of crypto, of course, the dollar amount is going to fluctuate with the price. But if you were to just buy the coin at a set price at a certain time, that token would have to double in price to get you your ROI. Right? If you buy 5,000 and then you double to $10,000, that's how that would have to work. The hardware can be resold, right? So your machine, of course, is going to depreciate over time, but you can resell it after you get your ROI and make a lot of your money back. There's so many great things about mining that a lot of people, all it takes is that aha moment for people to say, like, oh, I really should be getting a Bitcoin miner. Especially when you just plan on mining in perpetuity, just keep mining Bitcoin or whatever crypto. Number 4, this is a really easy one, but one that we still hear a lot. Bitcoin equals cryptocurrency, right? Someone will ask, oh, how many kinds of Bitcoins are there? Yeah, I see some of you guys smiling. Yeah, you've heard that. The point is Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, one of the many. It's not, Bitcoins, it's not what it is. But to a lot of newcomers, because the word they hear all the time, Bitcoin. And because the word Bitcoin, kind of with the language pattern, it sounds like cryptocurrency. It's an easy mistake to make. I know all of you guys already know that, but something really important to tell to newcomers. I don't know if this is going to work for me, but this is actually my last little tidbit here that I want to go over, and that is the idea that Bitcoin is not decentralized. So I actually got into not an argument or even debate, but a conversation with a coworker yesterday. Muegge Crypto put out a YouTube video yesterday or the day before, in which it was like 30-second video, if that. It was like 20 seconds. He was in some kind of interview, and he said that Bitcoin isn't decentralized. And when you hear that argument, it takes me off the feet for a minute. Wait, what do you mean it's not decentralized? It's the definition of decentralized. I'm going to see if I can play the video so you guys can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He lost rapid. There you go. So now he's crying every day for the love.
I need to figure out this one.
Yeah, that's why they should keep it 15 years and 20 years.
And also why the internet is so slow. Bear with me.
No, Bitcoin is not true.
So yeah, I mean, it's
Well, I remember what he said. What he said was Bitcoin is not truly decentralized because a man created it. A human being created Bitcoin. He had to come up with a system for which mining works and everything. That's it. That was all he said. That was a very short clip. I'm not sure if that came from like a full interview somewhere else that I was able to find where he got any more detail. If you look at the comments on this, they were just eviscerating him. It was horrible. This is like, Bitcoin isn't the stupidest thing you've ever said. You should take this down. You don't know what decentralized means. I think that his argument may have been that Bitcoin isn't perfectly decentralized, almost like there's no perfect democracy, right? The fact of the matter is, Bitcoin is decentralized, or at least as decentralized as you can get. While I'm going to go back to my presentation here, actually.
The problem is, we don't want this. We're just like, well, just send them here so they're renting the space.
Somebody like this here.
Just like, but we didn't know. So the plan is that.
So there's lots of points here, but while there might be 5 to 10 mining pools that have 75% or so of the hash power, you never really have to worry about one of those miner pools getting to 50 or 51% because of the community, right? Everyone in the Bitcoin community, especially people who are paying a lot of attention to the pools and to the mining system, care about no one having majority control of the Bitcoin network. And so we've actually seen an example of this, I was telling you about it this morning, of where one of the miner pools, because they were just the best, they had the best UI, the best customer service, everything, they got like 48, 49% of the hash power at one point, and the community pulled back. People left. They were like, oh, this isn't right. You guys shouldn't be getting this close to 50%. And so they just tanked all the way back down. No one had to do anything, the community just took care of it. But with every single day that goes by, with more hash power being added to the network, it's actually becoming more and more unlikely that anyone will ever be able to reach the 50% or 51%. And I think I gave this example to somebody, or some of you guys here earlier, where the only thing that I can think of is if Russia or China, or maybe even the United States, already has all the quantum computing technology, but they're developing it somewhere. In like a basement, like an something, and they're just building all these quantum computers and just waiting until they can turn them all on at once and take over the Bitcoin network. But highly, highly unlikely. My computer went ahead and disconnected, so I'm just gonna free ball the rest of this. So the other point to why Bitcoin is definitely decentralized is there's actual physical limitations, and by that I mean hardware-wise, physics-wise, limitations on how much one area can get with hash power. So one of the points that Dr. Carter made to me this morning, there is hardware competition, right, with just raw silicon, turning silicon into hash power with all that development work that needs to be done. There's a lot of competition between hardware developers to make more and more hash power, but there are limitations with how much we can actually fit onto a chip, right? There's also limitations on how much raw energy, electrical energy, you can get into a single location. So that kind of creates this natural distribution of networks. There are lots and lots and lots of reasons why Bitcoin is definitely decentralized. My last slide on here was actually going to be another video that I was trying to do more research. I thought, man, if Bitcoin crypto is saying that Bitcoin is not decentralized, and surely there are other people who are saying it. I could only find like a few videos, 80 people who had like 50 views on their video, and it was them saying, oh, Bitcoin's going to zero because it's not decentralized, and it's a Ponzi scheme, blah, 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 blah. But I did find one guy who looked like he had a PowerPoint presentation, so I watched it, and he was clicking through, saying all the right buzzwords. But one of his arguments, similar to Bitcoin and cryptos, was it's like Google, where, you know, okay, sure, all of their miners are spread out across the globe, but it's still centralized because it's all on planet Earth. If I go to Mars, I can't use Bitcoin, so therefore it's still centralized on planet Earth. What? What are you people talking about? These are people who have no idea. They have no idea what they're talking about. They think they do, but they don't. And he actually brought up a chart. I'm looking at it on my computer. We had the Earth and Mars, and there was this 20-minute delay. And it was really funny because before he even got to that point, when he was talking about it's not decentralized, it's all on planet Earth, I thought, so what? You're saying that because it's not on Mars and Venus that it's technically centralized? I mean, you can say, okay, now it's on Mars and Venus, but it's not in the other solar system, so it's still centralized. I couldn't believe it. And then he pulled it up as an example. So I scroll down through the comments, and sure enough, people are saying the exact same thing. Like, this is the worst metaphor I've ever seen. And the guy actually responded to the comments saying, no, it's not, because gold still works on Mars. What? Yeah, I could get into it. It's don't believe all these crazy misconceptions that people are throwing out. Arm yourselves with knowledge and just be ready to explain to friends, family, newcomers how cryptocurrency works, why it's important, why it's the evolution of science.
Do you think the government will ever take down Bitcoin mining because of too much energy use?
No, I really don't think so. I think that the direction that mining is going, renewable energy is going to be a perfectly viable solution. I mean, as soon as we do that, nobody can complain, right? It's true that it's a significant amount of energy. And this is actually one of the top myths that I went over. If you guys haven't seen that, that's a video on YouTube that you can look up too, where one of the biggest myths is that Bitcoin mining is going to cause the climate apocalypse and we're all going to melt and drown from the rising sea levels because of Bitcoin mining. It's just not even close to true. The United States every year, just the United States every year, uses more energy lighting up Christmas tree lights than the entire Bitcoin network. All the banks around the world having lights on in their building from 9 to 5, plus all the servers that they run, it's the same and then more than the entire Bitcoin network. So it's just a ridiculous argument. There are many other things that I wish the United States government would focus on,
Right.
rather than the Bitcoin network. But we won't get into that right now. Any other questions or any other misconceptions that anybody else has heard? No? All right. If not, then that's it. I'm going to check really quick if there are any comments from any questions on here. Nope, just Crypto Sherpa. Telling people to hit the like button. So I think really quick, I'm going to go get Michael Carter and maybe have him at least say hi to everybody, and maybe he can talk about some of the misconceptions that he's heard. He's done a ton of consultations. So I will be right back.
Thanks. One round.
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, BBT in the house.
Yeah. I kept the stream going if you want to say hi to everybody.
Oh yeah. Oh, you guys get some streamers too. Fine.
Just a couple. All right, everybody. So this is Michael Carter. We kind of pre-introduced you as soon as we found out you were coming over, but
Yep.
he goes by Bitsby Trippin, and he is the absolute goat when it comes to.
Been doing it for a minute.
Yeah, just a little. So I didn't know. Today we've been talking about the top crypto misconceptions that newcomers often fall prey to. I know you do a lot of consultations, so I didn't know if you had any.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the stuff I cover has to do mainly around mining. Mining's like the base layer, the security for a lot of the proof of work networks. We don't cover a lot of stuff with like proof of stake or any of the other networks that have alternative consensus mechanisms. So I like the purity of being able to find something on the internet, learn it myself and then deploy it. And then I get the return from the network for hosting security. That's essentially what proof of work allows you to do. Proof of work's Bitcoin, Ethereum right now is still proof of work. Ethereum Classic, Ravencoin, things that allow you to take hardware and hedge your risk on a piece of equipment and that has value, and then you point that to the network that has security. So a lot of the stuff we cover on the channel is related to that, helping through some of the trials and tribulations when it comes to creating a mining rig. It's not easy. That a lot of that equipment wasn't designed for what we have to do. So there's a lot of problems. It's not just like plug and play. ASICs sometimes are, but they're really loud. Use a lot of power. So the easiest barrier to entry to learn it is just to start with one card and work your way through that. And then there's that feeling that you did it, and then you wake up in the morning and you actually have some crypto in your wallet. You're like, oh, okay, I get this. This is interesting. Just trying to help make sure people know how to do that. I think that's the liberating piece of it. So yeah, I recommend if you haven't tried or any of that, just to understand it. Try to do a miner.
How much does it cost to set up like a basic mining?
So you can start with one card and one GPU in there, a couple $100 and a computer if you have one, just to start. I always tell people to start small, start with a cheaper setup. All that happens is essentially you have each of the GPUs will use a little bit of power. Like one of the ones that are in there, there's an RX 470, uses 88 watts of power. It's a little less than like a 100-watt light bulb. And that'll mine, and that'll give you a return. It's not going to be huge. It's proportional, right? So if you have one, you're going to get a little bit. But the operation of scaling that up is pretty linear. You put 6 of them on the machine, now you're going to have roughly 6 times that return. And that kind of gets you into it. Like a full rig, I think you guys have not here right now for about 2,300 which is a lot cheaper than what it's been lately. Like if we would have looked at this 6 months ago, that rig would have been more around 3,500, 3,700. And that's just because the hardware was hard to get, and there's a lot of people mining. As it's not as profitable, like in real time profit, like what you make right now is what most people measure from. I look at it more of like that's a continuous operation that's getting the yield. So over a longer tail, like if you're looking at 12 months to 24 months, you could pay $2,300 in a coin now, or you could pay $2,300 in a machine that's going to earn you over a 24-month period more than what you would have bought for that $2,300. Now you're feeding it power and all that, but what mining in general gives you is like a dollar cost averaging approach to yield. So you're making coins, and the whole time you have that piece of hardware that you can then resell, right? So what it's happened since the beginning is that you get your ability to resell that rig, which is hilarious for sometimes more than what you paid for it originally. So because of the strain in the supply chain, you turn around, you have that, and you earn your crypto versus picking a price of when to buy, right? Another approach is also just hedging it, like whatever you're going to spend on that, kind of buy some coins and then buy a smaller rig and then have both. In addition, the rigs can be pointed to different things. The graphics card machines can be pointed to different networks. So Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin, these different networks. And then emerging networks, if you have maybe a couple of crypto founders that come out and say, you know what, we've been trying to do this feature, but we can't get influence on the network to put this feature in. So what they end up doing is they fork a coin, and then they'll make the changes to that new coin and say, hey, we wanted to make sure that these features should exist. That's essentially where you get something like Ravencoin as an example. The basic concept of Ravencoin was they wanted to try to create the concept of a stock market on a cryptocurrency token. So Renewable took the idea of stock traded options, STOs, and they built it into the protocol at the very base layer. So they wanted to have the same kind of functionality as like an STO, stock traded option, and essentially they have NFTs on there too. And they put that into the network, and then that now has that feature set. So at some point, if there is market adoption for STOs to be on a crypto network, Ravencoin's already done all the legwork. So if Fidelity, Capital, any of these companies come out and say, we should probably put this on crypto and make it more democratized, where it's not just US markets, we want to be able to offer STOs worldwide, then they either can go build it themselves or go, wait, no, Ravencoin already has it, so we just need to take a position. It's saving them the steps and efforts. The same way with like Ethereum Classics, a lot of stuff with Ethereum, build smart contracts to do things. That's the kind of the reason why an individual that's not mining may want to buy the coin. But You as the miner, you're just earning the yield, right? You're paid for securing the network. So that's the kind of stuff that I cover usually on the channel. So I don't call it the boring stuff. It's more of like, there's not a lot of, I don't have the drama and it's going up, it's going noon. I don't do any of that. It's more a very observe, report, mechanical. I just find that more tenable for especially new folks coming in to try to understand the networks and stuff. Because it is cool. It's interesting. It's different. This is a different approach to a whole bunch of different problems, from fintech to democratization of decisions, to a lot of things that are going to make changes out there when you decentralize decision making, right? So, yeah, the more you can get, you never have enough information in this. I still learn every day certain things across the network. So yeah.
Some do this. Does the network response have anything to do with how much you can be able to mine in terms of, like, versus like a whole real network versus?
Yeah, network, no, because it's everybody. The cool thing about mining is everybody's working on the exact same problem at the exact same time. So everybody's working on that same work package essentially. And those work packages are pretty small. So they're about 16 kilobits. And so we've had entire containers of Bitcoin miners running on equivalent to an ISDN. So you have 360 machines running on 64K 2 lines, right? Which is way lower than any kind of home internet. It doesn't need a lot of bandwidth. So response time does like your milliseconds. Like, so one is like, you can think of it like volume through like a pipe or a highway. So you have volume, right? Like 16 lanes of highway, lots of volume of traffic. That's like your download and your upload. But then you got response times, how fast things are, right? So response time does matter because like if you're working on that work package and you're able to successfully find a block, like we find that answer, you want to be able to broadcast that as fast as possible and make sure it starts propagating on the network, because you end up getting into race conditions. So it's like, I found it and then somebody else around the world found it too. And it's who can get it to propagate on the network. That's where you'll hear the word orphaned work. So like if you see like how many orphaned work you have, that just means that you were part of that winning solution, but you work fast enough.
So what's your millisecond?
So you want it, if you can, lower than 40. Lower than 20 is better, so if you're pinging, as it were, to whatever pool. Because remember, ping isn't just your ping to the internet, it's to your destination, right? So if you're going to mine to a particular pool, you could, hook your computer up on your home network and just ping that address, like it's a block or pool or whatever. You just kind of get an idea of how close you are. There's not a ton that you can do. Sometimes you can change DNS and a couple other things to make that faster, but most home internets these days, to most pools, as long as you're pointed to the pool closest to you. So like when you're looking at where do I want to point my miner to, like US East is any US East based pools or where I usually deploy them to, they're a few milliseconds faster to US East. Because it's usually like DC, New York, those areas versus sending it, to LA or sending it to, Europe. Because most auto configs, most of the miners are developed in Europe. So you'll have the default config to like going to the EU. And, like little things, like people are like, I don't know why I get all these Stell shares or orphan shares. And it's like, are you pointed to Europe? Because you're probably getting like a 200 millisecond timing to one of those pools. So your work just 200 milliseconds. I mean, you can get five packets in a second, essentially that. And, like you want to make sure that you could get 50 packets. And, if you take that in order of magnitude down to like 2 milliseconds. So, I mean, that's usually not a big deal, but it does.
What's the underlying operating system?
Most of the miners, if you're using any of the tools like Simple Mining or Hive uses Ubuntu. This is a Linux-based OS, and that's just because they strip all the other stuff they don't need. The big thing about mining is you want stability, and to have stability, doing it like on Windows isn't near stable because there's like Windows updates and like all kinds of random things that happen on Windows. So those mining OSs really reduce the overhead on the miner. So like I did do. The Simple Mining and Hive OS.
I got a question
Yeah,
for you.
sure.
Hey, I've been watching you for about 3 years. I got
Hey,
24 AMD old cards in there, but kind of helped me get started a little bit. But question for you: I was mining Ethereum. Now I'm kind of Ethereum and Ergo. But how bad has your yield gone down? I remember that video after 1559.
Yeah, 1559 dropped it quite a bit. So average ETH blocks every 15 seconds were about 4.5 ETH to the network with pre-1559. After 1559, which is EIP 15, it's just like a version update. So Ethereum had a version update, version 1559, and it changed the extra yield that you would get on the Ethereum network because you're getting the distribution of what the inflation was plus the transaction. They burn most all the transaction fees now to quote unquote help the network gain price discovery because it's like reducing the amount of ETH. The unfortunate effect is it affected all the miners, right? Our yields halved essentially that day when that happened, and the price really didn't go up; it actually went down, which just happened every time they try to cut the price or cut the thing. The big thing in crypto is that you cannot manipulate the price. Like it's like you can have some big traders that may take a risk and then cause some kind of issue with price, but like cutting supply and all that kind of stuff, short of Bitcoin, is the only one that's really kind of effectively and noticeably changed after like a halving type of thing. Ethereum had a huge pre-mine, so it's still very heavy. There's 118 million Ethereum, 70 million will pre-mine to the Ethereum Foundation, and they had like an open buy, for the early investor, right? So that's who we're also competing with there. So if you're a big holder, obviously, if less supply is getting in there, you're pumping their bags. But 1559 reduced it by half, and then the network went from 400 terahash to almost a petahash. So that's like a 60% bump in hash. So technically, you would have the 50 plus another 60 percent there, which ultimately, if you were earning on, let's say you had a farm that was earning 1 ETH, you would end up earning like 0.33 now per month. So yeah, about 70% is what the yield rate was on Ethereum.
Yeah, I used to be making. I mean, I could make my cards. I look back, I was making like 0.1, 0.2, but this was back when it was like $150, $200. So that was like making more. Now with the same cards, I'm making 0.008 a day.
Yeah,
so
that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, and that's different because that was at those times. So if you were making that, it was probably about 180 terahash. Yeah. So you're looking at about 80% increase in hash rate, which would reduce your yield. But all of it all come down to like how much over a long tail period. If Ethereum if they go proof of stake, and they could reduce most of the fee structure to like layer 2, then technically price discovery could hit that $10,000-$20,000 ETH price point, then which could take that yield and mean that right now whatever you're mining is actually worth a lot more. But they need a couple big changes on it to help that price discovery.
Yeah, I mean that's the wild thing about it. When I was making a ton of ETH, like 0.1 a day, it's probably making close to $25 a day. Now that 0.08, I'm making about $25 to $30. So I'm still making the $30 a day, but I'm just making a hell of
a lot less ETH. Well, it's because the value went up.
So
yeah, it's part of the fun. I mean, if you look at the hedging on some of the other networks, it comes down to price discovery in those, and that's what it really. I mean, you're just making yield, and then that time the price goes up, then it was really worth it. Like Raven was 5 cents. A typical machine to make about 120 Raven coin per day. At 5 cents, not too much. If it gets back to its 27 cents, it's not too bad. If it gets up to $1 plus, then that was $120 a day. That's effectively what people that were mining ETH felt, right? When I was mining, our first video on ETH was on October 3rd of 2015, so it was a few weeks after launch. One GP mining rig would make about 390 ETH a month. So to give you an idea, that was one rig. So that's quite a bit of ETH for one rig, right? But that shows you the difference and right now, Ethereum Classic is a perfect example. It's 25 terahash network. It's worth about $33 to $34 right now. And one of those, one rig will make like 0.6 to ETC and a half per week, right? So now you're looking at like 4 ETC per week. Well, Ethereum Classic hit a high last year of $175. So it's actually pretty good, about $700 to $800 a month at current rate. You know, if they get price discovery moves to $2,000 to $3,000, and that again, you're filling that same effect, right? And that's the hedge that we've all played on it. You know, from a recovering your funds and investment standpoint, right? Because we're just exchanging security for hash. Or, you know, we're creating hash for the security of the network. We're getting a token that may happen to be worth a lot more money at a later point in time, and that's our really return on it. That, and then you're hedging it versus buying a coin and YOLOing everything on that coin going up. You at least still have the piece of machinery that you could resell. You know, so you're hedging that risk on a piece of hardware. I think that's the big attraction on mining. It will continue to be that way for this time and on. But sweet. Yeah. Like, subscribe.
Yeah.
What's your channel?
It's Bits Be Trippin'. Right.
Yeah.
Right there.
BBT.
BBT.
General trust. Does anybody know why YouTube censored Bitcoin magazine for the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin magazine.
Did they?
Yeah.
I think that ended up being a mistake in the end. There's some-
Their auto thing shut
Yeah.
down.
I'm like, it was like day one of the conference.
Yeah.
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 Everybody was saying it was from like Peter Thiel's speech. I don't know if you caught that part, but he was pretty aggressive against a lot of things. But I think it ended up being some sort of mistake, like YouTube admitted it or something. I don't think it was like an intentional thing.
We'll see when Elon Musk buys YouTube, what he's gonna do.
Is that next on his list?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Twitter's a done deal, right? Twitter's a done
you get a
deal.
whole lot of
It's not- it's that-
All right. Sounds good, guys. I think that's about it. So feel free to have coffee, donuts, network, and we'll see you guys next week.
Good stuff.
You take a certain vitamin for overall health.